Now this piece of code is same as the previous code that we saw, but it uses negative edge triggered DFlip flop. So we are not using a positive edge. So that means you will see a bubble in front of the clock input of your DFlip flop. So the rest of it remains the same. So for this kind of DFlip flop and with the active high reset, right? So there is no bubble at the reset. That means it's active high. Now you have no way of knowing whether it's asynchronous or synchronous by looking at the symbol. As a designer, you will know it is synchronous or asynchronous. So for a negative edge triggered DFlip flop, the only thing that changes is this keyword, that is negedge clock. So we look for a falling edge at clock. So when the clock goes from 1 to 0, that is the falling edge at clock. The rest of the code remains the same. So we come into this always block because of a falling edge at clock or a rising edge at reset. So we want a rising edge because we want to check if reset has become 1. So we come in, since it is asynchronous, we check first for reset and put it to 0. If reset is not 1, then we assign D to Q, right? So in real life, we use negedge clock as the most common clock, negedge triggered DFlip flop, for the reason that if you have a positive edge triggered DFlip flop, all that you want is a value to go from 0 to 1, even for a short while. So when your line is carrying a value 0, a small spike could trigger your DFlip flop because the values might go from 0 to almost 1, and this could be falsely interpreted as a positive edge, right? So this kind of scenario is unlikely when you have a negative edge. So when you have a negative edge, so if your line is 1 by default and you don't have 0 going spikes, right? So that's pretty rare. The noise only tends to spike up and not usually down. So that is why having a negedge reset is pretty beneficial. But these days we have learned to overcome shortcomings, so we use both pos edge and negedge reset equally.